Your boy Cliffy B recently threw out the phrase AA games and suggested games publishers should focus on making these lower cost, higher gameplay focused experiences. So with the success of games like Rocket League and CSGO, it's really got us thinking, why don't more big game companies make cheaper, smaller games, and why the f are we naming the size of games after batteries?
Last week we covered Unreal and Gears of War developer Cliff Bleszinski's comments on how AAA games development is unsustainable in the long run. Bleszinski said there needs to be more effort put into smaller titles which focus on a single aspect instead of massive games which try to do everything. Single player, co-op and multiplayer in one package. He called these games AA and said the industry needs more of them. Well, what if he's right? Is it about time the industry takes a break from the relentless arms race for better graphical quality and cinematic experiences and reevaluates how it does business?
Digital-only multiplayer games like Rocket League have proven that you don't need a massive development team or multi-million-pound marketing for your game to achieve a mainstream success. So what if developers took this model and applied it to single-player games? Maybe selling them at $30 instead of $60 and focusing on making a well-designed, polished experience might actually make them more money, because at the moment many AAA games seem to be filling out a mandatory checklist of features. Does it have single player? What about multiplayer and co-op? Is it open world? Is there a progression system? And is there any way to monetize the experience with microtransactions?
Okay, so first things first, let's talk about the price point, because they're all about $60, £40. That's not that kind of shocking when you think how much money goes into them. A lot of the time, a lot of these games, they just all stick to that same price point. So there's a level playing field for a lot of products when some games you feel like you get way more value for money than others.
Yeah, and your purchasing doesn't stop there either, because when you've bought the game, you've also got the option for a season pass, the Super Digital Deluxe Edition, all this and all that. And then if you're playing a multiplayer game, you'd want to be buying weapon skins and that. Well, I don't, but...
Some people do.
Some people do.
Some people are buying £40 products and then they're buying DLC on top of that, like 5, 6, 7, maybe 15 quid a pop for DLC. And then also microtransactions. Some games can cost a lot of money these days. It's the season pass thing as well, where you buy a game for 40 quid, well, double that if you want a season pass sometimes. It's just, you know, why spend $50 when you can spend $100? They want money from you in all different kinds of ways. It's not just that base game anymore. So overall, the cost of gaming is quite high. A lot of that is that development scale, the amount of people that they hire to make these games, the amount of marketing that goes into them, the amount of promotion, the amount of money in the industry as a whole demands that they take a lot of money off us as well. So that's what we're saying. What if they focus on smaller projects? I mean, they could be just as profitable, just as successful themselves as games like Rocket League and CSGO, they've proven.
There's lots of games that have come out with multiplayer that probably didn't need them. Did we really need multiplayer on Uncharted, Mass Effect, Bioshock is another
2,
one?
if you want to go back a little while. And also flip it around. What about games that are clearly sold on the strength of their multiplayer and yet they have single player campaigns? For Honor, for example, did that need a single player campaign? Did anyone buy For Honor to play it on their own?
The answer is no, it didn't. But it still did cost money to make.
Yeah,
so therefore,
it's
money
resources
they need to make back by selling us iron. Is that what it is? Steel? Some shit metal.
Bollocks. Money.
Shit metal. I didn't say not to be confused with a good metal.
The indie market is all about the game in its purest sense. Indies focus on gameplay, storytelling, scene setting, things like that because they can. Because they're free of the pressure of AAA publishing, and of course, they're free to be more pioneering, pushing boundaries. Stardew Valley was a game developed by a single person, and it focused on providing a particular kind of experience. It focused on one set of things really well, and it was a runaway success both critically and commercially.
Friend of the channel, No Man's Sky, is a classic case of a AA project going terribly wrong, precisely because of the pressures coming from the publisher Sony to make it AAA, complete with the AAA price tag. No Man's Sky was simply not a AAA game, yet it was marketed and sold as one after Sony acquired the rights to publish it. Who knows, maybe No Man's Sky's infamy and notoriety would simply not have emerged had Hello Games been able to publish and market it themselves in their own time.
So one of the notes we've got down here, indie games are the best.
Indie games are the best. The hipster comments are coming in strong already. I can feel them being typed. They do things better. They don't have these stupid checklists. They don't have this huge development cost. They don't have to pay Nolan North And another thing with the indie games is they set their own price point, and
Yeah.
a lot of the time it's a fairer experience. If No Man's Sky was £20, I wouldn't be as annoyed by wasting.
Would everyone? That's the point, isn't it? Would it have been this huge phenomenon online about how terribly wrong everything went if it hadn't had that backing from Sony? But here's a really important point for me. The price of AAA gaming on the consumer leads to some pretty shallow discussions on the internet about how long a game is and how long a game should be. How long is the experience? In other words, will I get my money's worth out of this game? This is a big part of the reason why we have so many goddamn open world games these days, filled with busy work like towers to climb, bases to clear, races to race, and everything else that's made its way from Far Cry and Assassin's Creed into the rest of the AAA market. That's evidence that quantity is becoming as important as quality in the AAA business, and that's all down to the fact that some games cost too much money.
But what if they didn't? What if a game like For Honor, a game which is filled to the brim with microtransactions, and as we talked about earlier, a shallow, quite shit single player, costs £20 say, or $30? Would its player base be dying a death the way it is now? What if The Order 1886 was a £30 game? A fairer price for the moustache physics tech demo that it actually was.
So I guess what we're saying is, what if the fixation with a $60 price tag is actually causing more problems than people realise? What if more AAA publishers put out more games at that sub-60 price point? Maybe the industry would be in even better shape than it is.
Cliffy B's remarks about AA games and the need for them certainly holds water if you ask us. Not every game needs to be a blockbuster to be a success, and a premium price tag doesn't always mean a premium product. We did it! We landed!
Jake the writer over
Off
here.
that stuff.
Okay, so would you like to see more AA games? What's the best example of a AA game you can think of? Let us know down in the comments. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. There is another video here if you want to watch that, and a link to Patreon if you want to support the channel. We'll see you next time.